concluding observations and policy recommendations, I say we in America, I believe, are increasingly at risk of large-scale racial conflict unprecedented in our nation's history, which is being driven by the simultaneous convergence of a host of powerful social forces. These forces include changing demographics, the continuing existence of racial preference policies, the rising expectations of ethnic minorities, because a lot of minorities, they do have the expectations of better income, better jobs, better everything. So they have rising expectations. The continued existence of liberal immigration policies, growing concerns about job losses associated with globalization, the demands for multiculturalism, and the Internet's ability to enable like-minded individuals to identify each other and to share mutual concerns and strategies for impacting the political system. This combination of factors, in addition to others mentioned in Chapter 1, contributes to a social dynamic that can serve only to nourish white racial consciousness and white nationalism, the next logical stage for identity politics in America. There now exists an emerging white interest that is parallel with and structurally akin to a black and brown interest, which increasingly sees itself in need of protection from public and private initiatives that are said to favor minorities at the expense of more deserving whites. And so that's how I concluded this book back in 2002. It's not how I concluded it, but that's how I start that chapter. And then the rest of the chapter, I have policy recommendations for America as a whole, and then recommendations for the black community in particular. And part of the message of the book is, that there was something out there that we needed to take steps, or otherwise it was going to grow. And I saw the appeal that it would have for younger people, because they're being educated in an environment where you're really pushing identity politics. And so everyone wants to have an identity. You see, everything is about identity politics, and so you could see that whites would also adopt that same mode. And so that was clearly taking place. And so part of my solution was that we needed to move away from so much identity politics towards the American national identity. And as far as my ideas for improving American society, I felt that we needed to open up free speech, and that we needed to allow the voices of people who have grievances, even if these people are white, that their voices needed to be heard. And to the extent that there were some legitimate public policy issues that were not being addressed, and some of the issues related to immigration, it affects everyone. And it probably affects blacks, low-skilled whites, and legal Hispanics more than any other group. And so I was seeing, and I have a book on immigration. Immigration has not been a win-win for everyone. You'll see these studies where they say that immigration, is so great for the economy, but then it always has that footnote, that little footnote that says only a tiny percentage of the population, this may not apply to them. And that tiny percentage tends to be low-wage, low-skill Americans that have lost quite a bit. And if you did not have, the surplus labor, you would have higher wages for low-skilled jobs, except now we have computers. And so I don't know, we have the robots. I don't know if any low-skilled labor is going to be needed soon. So we don't know how that's going to turn out. But pretty much that's an overview of my book on white nationalism that was written 15 years ago.